Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bulletproof Underwear, episode number 207. Yeah! I am your co-host, DM Juice.
And I'm your co-host, Flex.
And today, we've got for you a guest that's maybe just a little different than something that you've seen before. We've had him on once before. He is a college student studying journalism in Florida. He's a gamer, a Halo lore specialist, and all-around conservative Southern dude, Frozensword. Yeah! What's up?
Welcome to the show.
It's been a long time.
I think it's been over a year since you were on.
Two, I think.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah. Well, when we first had you on, you were just like, in my mind, you were a Halo gamer. That was that was what I considered you as. I mean, not that that's all that anybody is. It's just that, but. Okay, so I've been following you on Twitter for a long time, and you are a little further right than most of the people that we have on our show, and also a little more outspoken.
I would say if you could take Milo Yianopolis and he was straight, that would be me.
Yeah, but he's also English, and he likes to wear fancy suits and stuff.
I would too if I was rich.
You'd wear fancy suits?
Yeah, if I made as much money as him, I'd wear expensive clothes all the time. I'm sure that they feel better.
Well, there you go. Well, how can they feel better than like T-shirts and stuff? I mean, come on.
Better material.
Okay, so if anybody doesn't know who Milo Yianopolis is, explain to everybody who he is.
A gay conservative that started off in England, and he was kind of famous there, but everybody hated him there. He started coming more to America. He was involved with Gamergate, and he backed up the gamers. And now he's become, in America, a big conservative figure. But the thing about him is, even though he's a big conservative figure, he's actually gotten people from liberals and conservatives both on his side because of how he fights for free speech.
Okay. Well, I'm not conservative, and I love Milo in many ways. I mean, we don't agree on some stuff for sure, but I love how he wrecks people who try to step on free speech. So you've been a big fan of his. If you go to Frozensword's videos, you actually have a large framed picture of him in the background of most of your videos.
And I have not kissed that. Wink, wink.
So where did you even get that?
He had it on his store. It was actually over $80. I spent my saved up money on it. So he doesn't have it on his store anymore. He has smaller sizes, but not this size. And then
it's huge. It's like that.
I did an unboxing video of it, and he actually saw it, and then he shared it on Facebook and Twitter.
Well, that's cool.
It's my most watched video because of it.
My God. Okay, so he writes for a publication called Breitbart, which is an online news source. It's a conservative news source. I don't know where it's based out of, if it's based out of England or the U.S. or what, because I know he's English.
It's based in the U.S., but they have Breitbart London, and they have like certain places. I believe in Europe, it was one of the. In some countries in Europe, it's like their number one news source.
Okay, so it's a news source much like the right's version of Huffington Post or something like that, right?
I believe when Andrew Breitbart created it, that's exactly what he wanted it to be. Okay,
the right-wing version of HuffPost. I've checked out HuffPost for a long time, but see, over time, I've had some problems with people on the left. I consider myself a liberal. I consider myself a classic liberal. I mean, if you have a problem with somebody on the right, you don't try to get them to be shut down. You engage and you have a better argument. You don't. I mean, like trying to shout over somebody, disrupt their events, keep them from appearing, deplatforming them. That's not the right way to approach it, in my mind.
Well, there's a similar thing going on the conservative side too. You have, I would say, the old age versus the new age, and the older conservatives are trying to keep us down because, like, they'll call us anti-Semitic and stuff just for making jokes, and it's starting to get ridiculous too. It's like the older conservatives hate Trump, but the younger conservatives love him.
Okay, so I know that you're a Trump supporter. Trump won the Republican nomination fair and square, but the Republican Party is freaking the fuck out about this.
Yeah, the Republicans hate him because they can't control him. They can't buy him out. And he basically says whatever he wants, which is what Americans have been wanting for a long time. Americans don't want somebody that is being controlled like a puppet. They want somebody that's going to be a voice for them, and that's what I believe Trump is.
Okay, well, some people see it that way. I mean, he does have very high negatives. I mean, Hillary's got very high negatives, but Trump's, like, at least it's been reported that there is like 70%.
Well, there was one that came out too of Fox, I think, today that said Hillary's is in the 60s of negative and Trump's in the 30s. I know it's like it depends on what.
Well, I guess
what
it depends
source.
on, yeah, who's your poll, coming from. Well, the number that I've seen has been passed around on like mainstream channels, like the network news, MSN, CNN, or whatever. Well, Trump is he says stuff that is shocking to me. I find some of the stuff he says shocking, but see, I find stuff that all Republicans say shocking a lot of times, but him even more so. So I sort of agree with them in a lot of ways. But so, are you pretty confident that Trump is going to be good? I mean, do you think that Trump is going to win?
I am 95% sure he will win.
Okay, well, why do you think that?
Because if you look at what every past president here recently, like you have George W. Bush and then you have Obama. George Bush, well, when he was president, I believe that's when we went, towards the end of it is when we went into the recession. Yep. And then with Obama, he really never got us out of it, or at least my family hasn't gotten out of it anyway. And I think, and Obama too, he's pushed the SJW agenda. Like ever since he's been president, like the LGBT stuff has gone insane. And you don't have to push them to have rights and stuff. You can give them rights without trying to say, oh, if you're a white straight male, then you're lower than them. Like that's unnecessary. And I think if Hillary Clinton gets it, she's going to continue that the bashing of the white straight male. Like if she becomes president, I actually think in her term or 2 terms, if she gets reelected, that we as like it'll become illegal just to argue with women.
Well, it's not always a good idea to argue with women. I will tell you that right now. Having lived a fairly long life, it can cause you some problems, law or not. What do you think about that, Flex?
Arguing with women?
Yeah, I mean it's not against
like
the law.
It's like handling piranhas, man.
It's not against the law, but it's definitely, it doesn't give you any peace of mind. Okay, so people are all worried that. So people are all worried that. First of all, I'm gonna say that we are not in a recession. The financial conditions that we have now are entirely different than when Obama inherited the economy. So we are not in a recession. We are actually in job growth, and we have been for many quarters. So that's one thing. I just want to correct the record for that. It's like we're not still in a recession. the world economy almost completely collapsed. I mean, you know, I don't know how much attention you were paying in 2008. You were a pretty young fellow, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I was in middle school, I think.
Right. So I doubt that you were super plugged into, you know, world news, but we were pretty close to the brink, man. It's like we're near the Great Depression, you know, of the 20s.
That close.
Yeah.
Guys jumping out of high rises in New York from the crash.
Anyway, the world has been, you know, changed quite a bit from that. But all right, so gay people, the gay agenda. Like, do you have a problem with gay people?
I don't have a problem with gay people. I believe like they should have like almost every other right anybody else does. I do disagree with gay marriage, but that's as far as it goes. If I had a problem with gay people, I wouldn't be a fan of Milo.
Right. Well, I saw tweets to the effect that you want to be spanked by a gay man. It's true. Yeah. Right. I read that.
I did say that I wanted Milo to spank me with a copy of Crippled America.
Okay, well, I can understand that you're a big fan of him. Has the fact that you're a fan of Milo and the fact that he is so a flamboyant gay guy, has that affected your view of gay people at all, even slightly?
Probably. I would say so, because before him, I thought all gay people were just SJWs that were just trying to shove everybody else down. And I think most of them, maybe, well, not most, I'd say over half of them still are, but I would say like a lot of them are becoming like conservative in their views now, especially after the shooting. A lot of them have basically pledged their allegiance to Trump now.
Okay. Well, I would say probably most gay people are probably like most straight people. They're not SJWs or anything else. They're just people living their lives, working from day to day, getting through, pursuing what they like and avoiding what they don't like. I mean, when you say SJW, okay, so for the people out there in the audience watching the show who don't know what you're talking about, could you explain?
Well, so SJW is like social justice warriors. Like they're the feminists. And they're like what's it called? That GLAAD, the gay organization. I think GLAAD is what they're called. Gay
Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. Yeah, GLAAD.
Basically, every time like you're watching TV and a gay joke is made, or a joke is made that doesn't put a woman in the best light, even though if it's in just a light manner, they'll go in and go, "This was sexist" or "This is homophobic," especially with video games. Like with Halo 4, feminists called it sexist because Master Chief rescued Cortana, and they'll call like Mario sexist because he rescues Princess Peach. That's storytelling. If they want to make a game like that, let them make it. SJWs try to control society, and basically they've gotten to the mainstream media now.
Well, I will admit that Anita Sarkeesian has had an actual effect on video games. You can see it in some games. You can tell that. They're seeking the approval of people who feel like her, and I didn't appreciate. Go ahead.
But is that ever going to happen? Because people want to play the games they want to play, and if you start throttling the shit out of them, people ain't going to play them.
I think you're right.
When I was watching E3 this past week, I noticed like so many of the games had just shoved. It looked like they could have done without it, but they just shoved women into it to say, "Oh, we have a female main character." Like Dishonored 2. I never played the first one, but it seemed like really forced to have a woman in it. I believe one of the I can't remember their names, but there were two journalists covering it, and one was a man and one was a woman. The woman was like, "Oh, I think I'm just going to play as the female character the entire time." And the guy was like, "Well, there's two characters you can play with," and she's like, "I just think I'll play as the female one."
Well, I don't see anything horribly wrong with that. I mean, it's still going to be a game that'll offer you. If you like Dishonored, I think you'll still be able to get what you like.
But I feel like they just changed it to push like to make that like Anita happy in that group.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think that like Halo is a game where your online player you can choose a male Spartan or a female Spartan? Do you think that's wrong to be able to choose a female Spartan?
As long as it doesn't affect gameplay, which I believe it did in Reach. In Reach, the hitboxes were smaller for the females.
Okay. Well, I didn't play Reach, but I played Call of Duty Ghost, and that was the first Call of Duty game where you could choose a female Spartan, and people had tests proving that the hitbox was exactly the same, even though the character model was a little thinner. And I believe that's the same way with Halo 5. The character model is a little teeny bit skinnier on a female Spartan, but the hitbox is identical. So I was thinking, maybe I should play as a female Spartan. It makes my target slightly harder to aim at.
Oh, and the Zelda Breath of the Wild, when they confirmed that Link was going to be a boy only, like SJWs went nuts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are certain things that, like, I don't mind if they make video games more inclusive to female gamers if they don't mess up the game. It's like if they want to give you a choice to make your character a female, I don't see anything wrong with that. But, like, okay, if it's an established character like Link, it would just be weird. It's like, changing Darren's in the middle of Bewitched weird. It's just, it's off-putting.
Like, I feel like if you have an established character, whether it be male or female, you should keep it male or female. Like Bayonetta, I like the Bayonetta series. I wouldn't want a male Bayonetta.
Well, that would be pretty weird.
Yeah.
That would be pretty weird. And Anita has spent quite a bit of her, efforts talking about the game Bayonetta.
I wouldn't want...
I was going to say, for any of you that didn't get the Darren reference because we're old, think 2.5 Men.
2.5 Men. Who did? Oh, yeah.
Charlie
okay.
Sheen got replaced by Ashton Kutcher. Same thing.
But
Sorry.
what would have been weird is if they continued to call him Charlie, and it was like it was a different actor, and then nothing else had changed except
then it would have been the same as Bewitched.
Then it would have been like Bewitched when they changed Darren's.
That was all.
I actually know that reference.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, then how about the Roseanne show where they changed? Was it Becky?
His daughter, Becky.
Yeah, Becky. They just had a different actress. And it was like...
From one season to the next, they just changed actresses. They never said a thing.
Well, it didn't affect the show a whole lot.
And they changed her back.
Oh, wow. Well, it didn't affect it a lot because Becky was not really a primary character in that, So it wasn't too weird. But if they were to change Link into a girl, I mean, that would be kind of weird. But what if you could change Link... If you clicked a checkbox when you started the game, you could change Link to a female, or if you wanted to play him traditionally as a boy, would you have a problem with that?
Yeah, because Link was always a boy. I feel like if he's always a boy, like no end ifs or buts, he should be a boy. If they want to do like a female Link, I think they should just altogether create a new game series in a similar tone as Zelda and have it based on like a female character.
Okay.
Like I'm into the lore of Zelda too, so.
All right. Okay, so that's that's near and dear to your heart. Now, I didn't appreciate when I popped in Halo 5, Cortana is now wearing clothes, and she has much smaller titties.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That they did that just for feminists, and it makes me angry.
Yeah. Cortana was always like not wearing clothes. Now she's wearing clothes, and they shrunk her titty size down quite a lot.
Like, I feel like if they would at least gave a good reasoning behind it, but when I believe Master Chief makes a comment and she was like, it was time, and I could read in between the lines when she said it was time, it had like a feminist undertone to it.
Yeah, well, I think that was a nod to, the political correctness. I'm sure you don't want to sexualize her anymore. We sexualized her before. We're going to stop. Like, come on, man, come on. This is a established character. It's like, save it for the new characters.
And two, they like to bring out these numbers and say most gamers are women. Well, if you take into account like people who play on phones and tablets, that is the case. But for console gamers and PC gamers, I'd say at least a good majority, like 90% of them, were still men. And that's
Okay.
your audience they have to try to make games for.
Well, I know that they are always trying to push a narrative that a lot more women are gaming than people think, and that probably is true. And that probably is true that they're playing tablets and phone games more than they are playing console games. Now, how many Halo, Call of Duty players, Grand Theft Auto players do you get, that are women? Some, but not anywhere near half. Nowhere near half.
And the women I've known that's played Halo and stuff. Sorry, I burped. But most of the women I know that's played Halo and stuff, they don't care about feminist stuff. Like, they don't care at all about it. Like, I think the narrative Anita Sarkeesian and all the feminists and SJWs are trying to push is just something for them to get their own gain out of. I mean, Anita has made a living off of being a professional victim.
Well, she has become the go-to person when a media source wants a feminist perspective on something. She's getting on CNN and big news stuff. I think Anita is a fraud. I am old enough. I remember second wave feminism, and they had people like Helen Gurley Brown and whatever. I can't think off the top of my head the names of the people. Gloria Steinem. These are legit intellectuals. Now, you may have argued whether or not they were right, but they was not. Okay, they had things to say, and they were able to express those things. They didn't need to read it off of a page. It's like when I've seen Anita on panels, she'll be the only person on the panel that'll have like a stack of pages, and she'll just read it off. Somebody had to prepare that for her. She's not even an intellectual enough to engage with a conversation about it. She's a lightweight. She's a fraud.
She was actually in one of my textbooks last year for journalism. They actually used her to talk about how women are portrayed in movies and stuff.
Well, right.
Really?
She's managed to get herself, situated as an expert in feminism and feminist topics, and she's like one of the go-to talking heads that media will go to. And I think there's a place for feminism, but I think they need a real spokesperson, not a phony bullshit spokesperson.
If anybody should represent what feminism stands for, it should be somebody like Christina Hoff Sommers.
Well, I like what she says.
But these new feminists like Anita Sarkeesian and Brianna Wu, who I've actually had a run-in with in recent months, they're just cancer.
Well, Brianna Wu kind of fell off the radar. I mean, Gamergate is kind of old news. Nobody talks about it anymore, and Brianna Wu is part of that. She's just like disappeared. I mean, first of all, I understand she's a transsexual, right?
Yes, in my videos, I was calling Brianna Wu Man Wu. And so then Brianna Wu, I think like a month ago, I think she actually follows me on Twitter. And she retweeted something, and I had like an entire army for weeks of SJWs attacking me on Twitter and in my videos. And I found it funny because not one of them actually showed their face or real name. When I trash talk somebody, I show my face and my name because it shows I'm not afraid. And when they attack me without showing their face or name, it shows me that they're afraid of me knowing who they are.
Right. Well, it is kind of ironic you're saying that and we can't see your face.
But everywhere else.
We've seen it plenty of times. And yeah, we know that your real name is go ahead.
Casey,
that's right. So you have it on your Twitter,
Yeah.
your real name. Now, I remember when you used to do videos and we used to wear a silly plastic mask.
Well,
These are gaming videos.
yeah. I used to try to hide my face, but I'm not afraid of anything that comes my way anymore. So it's like, just try to start something with me because you'll make a name for me.
Okay, well, you are growing on Twitter. You've got over 1,000 followers now, right?
Well, I'm about to reach 400. I do have over 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, you got over 1,000 subscribers on your YouTube. That's it.
Yeah, it's funny. When I used to just do Halo videos and videos like that, I went 3 years and barely reached 300 subscribers. This month, this year, past 6 months, I've gone from a little bit over 300 to over 1,000 when I just started doing whatever I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think some people consider you a little bit of a fringe character. What do you say about that?
But what do you mean by that?
Well, you're pretty far right. I mean, you're...
Excuse me.
The people that I know, like right-wingers, they think of them as kind of nuts. And the super far right-wingers, they sort of think of them as super nuts. I'm not saying I think you're a nut, but what would you say to somebody who thought that?
I would call myself alt-right, the new generation of conservatives coming up. Like, we're not afraid to say stuff like multiculturalism is cancer because it brings over stuff like Islam. And if you look at who's been doing these shootings recently, it's Islam. I don't know if you wanted me to say that, though.
Okay, well, I will admit, I agree with you on Islam. I'm an atheist. I came out a few months back, very prominently, I'm no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm an atheist. And I disagree with all religions. But I disagree with one more than any because it is violent and it is dangerous and I don't like what it stands for at all, and that is Islam.
So, do you know who Gavin McInnes is? He did the press conference with Milo in Orlando and kissed him. If you've seen it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I've seen that guy a little bit.
Yeah. He's a Christian. He said, the difference between Islam and Christianity is we have a 2.0 version called the New Testament that preaches love. Islam does not have that. And even if you have a moderate Muslim, they still believe in the Quran. And I believe you have a copy of it.
I have a Quran.
Yeah. Does it say to kill the non-believers?
Oh, you bet your ass it does. So does the Sunnah.
And did Muhammad rape a 9-year-old?
Well, he had a wife that he married at the age of 6. Her name was Aisha. And he waited till she was 9 before he consummated the marriage, which means that's when he stuck his dick in her.
He was so generous waiting those 3 years.
Yeah.
Such a good man.
So if you read the holy text of Islam, that's like the Quran is the primary one, but then also the Sunnah, which is the sayings of Muhammad. It is very apparent that he was a warlord, a medieval warlord, and Islam conquered the Middle East by violence. And it's there's 1.6 billion Muslims today. Now,
hey, you still got that Quran?
I do.
Oh, next time I need some wipe if we're a little low in the bathroom, could you send me that?
Well, I'll tell you right now, trying to read the thing is incredibly boring. First of all, it's just like the Bible in that regard. It's very boring and it repeats itself ridiculously.
Is it real versy and stuff like thou, thee, this, that, thou?
Well, they don't speak in King James English. The only reason people talk like that when they pray, Lord, grant thou hast, thine
Who's
will. The only reason that people do that is because when the Bible was first translated into English, it was the King James Bible, and that's how people spoke English. Thou hast whatever. And of course, we do not speak like that now. But religious people still do when they pray. A lot of times you'll see that, and I think that's kind of funny. So you're a Christian, right, Frozensword?
Yeah.
Okay. How often do you go to church?
Probably in a year. It's been a year. Or Orlando churches or Florida churches are a lot different in Mississippi, even for the Southern Baptist churches. Like, from my experience here, people in church, when you think of a church, you think of people being, like, respectful to the preacher and all that. But while I've been here, we've been to a church, and the preacher was actually from my hometown in Mississippi. But it's like the congregation just sits there and they talk on their phone and stuff. Well, but if you go to a church in Mississippi, like, everybody's respectful and they pay attention. And I'm ADHD, so if somebody's on their phone, I cannot just pay attention. Like, my mind just wanders.
Okay, so you are not a super devout Christian who religion plays, a part in your day-to-day operations. It's like you're not thinking about your religion all day long.
Well, I would say I do, but I'm different than a lot of the old school Christians, which all they wanted to do was preach love. Well, if preaching love was the answer, we wouldn't have a problem with Islam now. I believe the answer to fighting back is doing what Milo does and just ridicule them, make jokes about them, trigger them.
Well, I tend to agree with you. Now, you said we've got a version 2.0 of Christianity. Now, we had Christianity from the point like Christ lived, if he in fact lived, in the first century, which is 2,000 years ago. Europe was in the medieval period during a lot of that, and people were killed for religious beliefs, lack of religious beliefs. They burned witches. Christianity had a barbaric period. They had the Crusades. They had the Spanish Inquisition. So
no one's safe from the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, so Christianity does still believe in the Old Testament. They haven't thrown away the Old Testament. The Old Testament is just as bad as the Quran. It really is.
We still believe in the Old Testament, but there are parts of the New Testament that, like, overrule the Old Testament. Like, the Old Testament, this is the only example I can think of at the moment, but the Old Testament, I believe, says an eye for an eye, but the New Testament says turn thy cheek.
Jesus said, I come with a sword. Okay. So, there's passages in the New Testament that belie the peace and love thing a little bit. But what I'm saying is there's a modern version of Christianity that has basically rid itself of the kind of, like, extreme views that end up in violence and killing. Like, if you leave Christianity, no, Christians don't think you need to be killed. If you leave Islam, Muslims believe that you need to be killed.
Well,
That's called apostasy.
When it comes to gays, Christians disagree with gays, and we believe they live a sinning lifestyle, but that's as far as it goes. Islam, they kill their gays. Don't they throw them off buildings?
Well, ISIS throws them off buildings, and they've stoned them. ISIS is like so barbaric. It's like the movie Saw or something like that. They're always looking for more revolting ways to kill people.
I believe in I'd say next decade or two, if we keep letting Islam over into the United States, that there will be a war. I don't want it to be, but I figure that if they gather enough forces, it will be. I think that's where Europe is heading overall. Okay,
well, Europe is one thing and the U.S. is another. Now, I do think that Islam is in bad need of reformation. They need to go through a reformation like Christianity went through a couple of hundred years ago. You're not going to... I personally would love to see them all just give up their gods, and I'd like to see everybody do that because I'm an atheist and I think that's, the truth. But I also understand that is not going to happen. You've got 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, ranging from Asian countries to African countries. In the U.S., we only have a tiny, tiny Muslim minority population. It's less than 1%. I don't know if it's somewhere between half of 1%, but it's not even 1 in 100 people is Muslim. So we don't have a big situation with that, and we don't have a lot of terrorism. We do have more nowadays. I mean, we had San Bernardino, and there have been a couple of little things, but the people in Europe have to deal with this like much, much more than we do, and they're much, much closer, and that's because a lot of Muslims are immigrating into those countries, and that's causing a lot of problems in Germany and France and the UK.
I would say Europe is screwed. They are like, I feel like in my lifetime I'll see Muslims take over Europe.
Well, that could possibly happen. I don't know, but I don't think that we're going to have a problem the way that Europe has a problem. It's like if Muslims would just go to other countries and work and play and do their thing and all that would be great. But there's a certain number of them, not all, that want to overthrow the whole way of life. They want Sharia law, and Sharia law is like law from the Quran.
So you know who Dave Rubin is?
Oh, absolutely! I totally love Dave Rubin.
I believe he's the one that said they like to throw words at us like homophobe and racist and Islamophobe, but they don't like it when we throw words back like regressive left and it sticks.
Right. Now, I'm a firm believer in the regressive left, just like Dave Rubin, just like Gad Saad. You know who actually coined the term? If you look it up, you can actually see it credited. It's a Muslim reformer named Majid Nawaz, or Majid Nawaz. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but he is always trying to reform Islam, and he gets death threats constantly, and they call him basically the Islamic version of an Uncle Tom. I don't know. He's got his work cut out for him. I think the reformation that's going to take place within Islam is going to have to be over a very long period. It'll be generations. I think we're kind of stuck with more or less, like Sam Harris called it, a death cult.
When did this all start? Like with them coming over to the West?
Well, I don't know, but we had our 9/11 attack, but in 1993, Al Qaeda tried a terrorist attack on the World Trade Center that failed. And if you look at like as far back as like the 1972 Olympics, the Israeli Olympic team was slaughtered by commandos, like these Arab commandos. It's like the Islamic terror has a pretty long history. I'm not sure exactly when it started, but there's always been immigration.
So, I used to work at Halo Follower, and then I worked with, before they got started, Altar Gods and all that, and I didn't have the best falling out with them. I made that public. But, I mean, I would like on the team, Dean was Muslim, but I wouldn't see him as, the type that would go Allah Akbar and go in and shoot a place up. But I remember when I first brought it up, when I said like there's a problem with Islam, and I wasn't talking about him because I don't see him doing something like that. But he started to take offense too, and I'm just like, if it doesn't involve you, and I'm saying like you haven't done anything wrong, why would you take offense to it?
Well, I do understand somebody taking up for a group that they are a part of. If you attack a group and somebody's a part of that group, it's going to be offensive possibly. Now, I think most Muslims in the United States, they are just trying to get along. They're just going through their day. They're just like work, play, have relationships, and they don't they don't put as much emphasis on their religion as they used to back in their home countries, and that's a good thing. And that I have no problem with. But if you ask them, what are their feelings about, gay people or infidels and stuff like that, they probably still have ideologies that are not healthy. But as long as they don't act on them, I'm okay with that. Now, did you criticize Dean directly?
I did after it started.
Okay, so his name is Dean Abdu, right? And
yeah. After it started, I took a picture of him and of me, and I found this old movie picture. I didn't know what it was, of somebody holding up a head, and I had him with the body and me as the headless head, and I was like, Allah Akbar, over the text of it.
Now, you don't think that that's mean and that's offensive to somebody that you know? I mean, you don't think think you're kind of being a douche doing that?
Probably, but I didn't mean it as in like attacking him. I was doing kind of like Milo. When I found that it annoyed him, so I pushed it.
Okay. Well, he's not the problem.
No.
Okay, Dean's not the problem. I think you should attack the problem where the problem is. It's like, we don't need to be criticizing Muslims who are not the problem. We need to criticize the Muslims that are the problem.
Like, I don't have a problem with him. I just find it fun to push his buttons.
Okay, so basically you have a mean streak in you then, kind of.
Maybe, but every time I know people react, I find it funny.
Okay. All right, so you were with Halo Follower for quite some time, like over a year, I think, right?
A year and a half.
Okay, so I never did find out what happened. Like, why did you leave? What happened?
Well, I'm not going to specifically get into it. While the others got in arguments and stuff, and it went back and forth, I just kind of stayed out of it and just left, so I wouldn't be involved with it. And then I went to Ultra Gods, and then when it comes to journalists, like if you're trying to be a neutral journalism company, and then even for games, I don't feel like you should like give money to presidential campaigns and stuff. I mean, if you want to be something like Milo and be obviously right-leaning, then go ahead. But if you're trying to be neutral, stay out of it. And I feel like that's what we were trying to do with Ultra Gods, was be a neutral video game journalism company. But then, like, one of the members gave money to the Bernie Sanders campaign, and that is where I felt like something wrong was going on. I felt like that was totally wrong to do.
Okay, well, I don't even know what that is. So, gamer what? Or God, something gods?
Ultra Gods.
Ultra Gods? What is it?
It's ULTRAGUIDES.
Oh, Ultra Guides.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Ultra Gods.
that is actually a thing in a cartoon called Jimmy Neutron.
Okay. All right, so you're pretty serious about this journalism thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your goal? Where do you want to be?
I want to be like a Milo Yianopolis or Gavin McInnes, but I want to be my own thing at the same time. I don't want to be a copy of anyone, but I want to be able to fight for free speech, because I feel like in the day and age we live in, free speech is always being attacked, and I feel like that's something we need to fight back against.
Okay. So you're probably okay. So are you looking to write for a publication like Breitbart does, or or do you just want to be somebody like Steven Crowder, just an internet voice?
Well, I feel like you can do both, kind of like Milo. He works at Breitbart and he's a personality, but I would like to work at Breitbart.
Well, they already got Milo, so you'll probably have to find someplace else.
Well, they hire other young people too. Milo's entire tech team is like young people my age. I probably should send in the application.
Well, what if you could get a job working for Fox News? Would you be interested in something like that?
Well, for first job, yeah.
That's not your goal, though. You don't aspire to be on Fox News.
Oh, not really. Fox News is like cucks.
Now, I've seen you use that word a lot of times in tweets, cucks. This person is a cuck, that person is a cuck. What does that mean?
Well, a cuck, down to its definition, means if you're a white guy and you enjoy watching your wife sleep with a black guy, cheat on you with a black guy, you're a cuck. It's like, supposed to be like a funny word, but it's become like a word used for now for beta males, basically, or the old old guard of conservatives that hate Trump.
Okay,
They can be called like cuck conservatives.
Okay, well, I still don't get a real good impression of what that means.
Well, I'm trying to think of a way to say it. If you could use the N word, if you take the N word and you know what it means to like black people, I guess if you take cucks, that's what it means to beta males.
Okay, beta male could be anybody, right, left, center, anywhere,
Yeah.
gay, straight, like. I mean, like the way I understand a beta male is somebody who's like, well, okay, there's an alpha male. Okay, this term comes from like mostly animal studies, where like gorillas or wolves or something like that. There's an alpha male, but there's only one. There's only one alpha male. But every single member of their group, except the alpha male, is a beta male. So,
when I say beta male, I mean like a male feminist.
Okay, a male feminist.
Like people like that.
Now, I believe that women should have equal rights.
You want me to say something about that?
Yeah, do you don't think women should have equal rights?
I think they should. I think they should be paid the same. I think the wage gap is a myth. But
well, right, the wage gap is a myth that's been expressed. Well, there is, okay, when serious, legitimate economists have tried to figure out the wage gap and get through all the BS, the 77-cent bullshit, they actually have found that there is a tiny little wage gap. There is a little wage gap. But I think you can attribute that to the fact that men are probably more aggressive about asking for higher salaries than women are. It's like in a situation where a man is like negotiating his salary, he probably will try for a higher salary. The woman may not try for as high of a salary. And I think that would explain any little part. I mean, they're talking like a couple of single digits of a wage gap.
I could also go that I don't think feminists should have the right to vote, male or female.
Now that's freedom of speech, and you're saying you're against freedom of speech now.
Well, I'm for freedom of speech. I'm just against idiots. And now I'm just provoking people.
Right, now you're not actually saying that feminists shouldn't be able to vote, right? You're just kidding around.
Yeah, even though I kind of wish it was true in the back of my head.
Right. Okay, so I do not call myself a feminist. I do believe that women should have equal rights. And I think that for the most part, law in this country, they have equal rights. Show me a right that a man has that a woman does not have. I don't think that you really can. But I do sympathize with some things. Like, I've been in lobbies with gamers that were girls that were friends. And you know what? Dudes talk like nasty shit to them. I mean, they have to put up with shit that's just not right.
I think the reason behind that is, and I can personally say this for guys, when it's two guys talking, like playing games, like we'll go, hey, you're a homo, or hey, gay boy, or your mom was good last night, and stuff like that. I mean, like that's just how guys do. And I think when a girl goes into a lobby, it's the exact same thing. It's just you kind of switch the insults around a little bit, but in the general, it's the same thing as when two guys are in a lobby.
Well, I've seen enough to like. Okay, we have a friend who's actually somewhere between mine and Fleck's ages who used to play Call of Duty with us, and we'd be in lobbies, and if we weren't in party chat, other players that were with us would hear her talk, and they would say stuff that was like just not right. I don't think it's right, and I do think that women have to deal with that. That is like it's bullshit. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can't legislate that. You cannot legislate that.
I remember in I think it was 2008. I used to play an MMO on the Xbox 360 called Phantasy Star Universe, and my mom actually had an account on it too, and she would play online, and she never had problems.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny too because she some way started working with the economy. You know, MMOs, they have economies. She actually helped run the economy to the game.
Well, I think there's definitely a place for female gamers, but they do have to have a thick skin if they're going to do it, because it isn't always a nice place. You know, Xbox lobby is one of the most nasty places that you can possibly go to.
I love it though. I love it.
Well, I think that interactions with other people should be civil. Maybe that's just because I'm older, but I don't like all the shit talk that you hear. But
I love it.
Well, good for you.
I don't know.
I think the discourse is disappointing, and I weep for our younger generation.
Oh yeah, and this is for the smartass that said I sucked when I went 11-2. I got you 4 times, bitch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody ever said that that a game lobby is like a kindergarten, for sure. There's nasty shit said, and if you're going to play, you have to be prepared for that. But it's not one of the things I like about gaming. It's definitely, if I could have it more civil, I would.
I think it's because I grew up with online gaming too, so that's always been like a part of my life.
Okay. Well, I didn't take it up until much later, and I think that do you talk to people in the real world like that?
It depends on who it is.
Okay.
If it's like around friends, yeah.
Well, do you go up to Jack in the Box and tell the clerk, give me 2 hamburgers, bitch?
No, but I have seen people do that.
Yeah, I've seen it too, and I don't like it.
I imagine you walking up to a cashier and just saying that.
Yeah, and make sure my cheese is melted, you piece of shit. I don't know.
Make sure those fucking fries are French, you asshole.
Well, you see how you remember earlier this year when I was in that little YouTube drama with the Gothic guy?
Right.
That's basically how I was towards him, to be honest.
Well,
he was me too.
Okay, so like these Twitter wars and these YouTube wars, it's like I know they're entertaining. They can be entertaining. And that's fine for people who like it. I don't get into Twitter wars just because I don't get off on that. I certainly could if I wanted to antagonize Christians. It'd be the easiest thing in the world is to get into a Twitter war. But I don't know. I think I guess you would be considered a millennial. Is that what you are?
Yeah.
Okay, you're kind of at the young end of the millennials, though, right? I mean, people who are like 30 are also millennials, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the age exactly for it, but I know I'm in that group.
Yeah. Well, in many ways, I do weep for our youth.
I do actually like starting drama just because I find it entertaining. Like, I start Twitter and YouTube dramas with people just because I find it funny, and they'll get all offensive and start attacking back. And I'm sitting there laughing because I don't know what it is about me, but here lately, or past, I say couple years, I just don't get offended. I just don't. And I just like starting dramas because I know they get offended and they try and insult me back, and I find it funny.
Okay. So you don't get offended.
Well, there probably are things that could offend me, but involving internet stuff, there's almost nothing you could say to offend me. Now, if you want to offend me, like if you came up and like slapped me or something, then yeah, that would. But saying something or words or that doesn't.
Okay. So let's talk about the events that happened last weekend. The terror attack. Omar Mateen killed 49 people, injured 53 at an Orlando gay nightclub. All right, he did call 911. He pledged his allegiance to ISIS, but also news came out that he had been to that club many times over multiple years, and he had used gay dating apps like Grindr, indicating that he very possibly could have been gay himself.
I think the problem behind that is, I mean, not a problem, but the reason behind that is that Islam, they hate gays. Isn't that like a death penalty for them?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he was gay and he was Muslim too, and he became self-hating, and he just took it out on a nightclub basically because of his beliefs.
Right. It's the largest mass shooting in American history.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually not, but I'm not going to get into that.
No, I think that's what everybody says. This is like Anders Breivik.
There was a massacre back in the days when we had the cavalry and the Indians and all that shit going on. There was a massacre that was like 250 people. It was all mostly women and children.
Huh. Well, I guess
I don't know the
exact
dates. I don't know the exact history. I just saw a blip on that. That's all I know. And just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there. But it was I'm not desensitizing or demeaning what happened down there. It was a huge loss. I mean, that's a lot of people that get killed in one time.
Okay. Well, whatever his motivations, obviously he's mentally ill. I mean, he was, a lot of people said that he had some mental problems, some mental stability problems. He happened to be he was born in this country, but his father was Afghan. And his father is like kind of a weird guy. He's got some sort of a YouTube channel where he supports Al Qaeda. Is that what it is?
Something. I think
the Taliban. He supports the Taliban.
Didn't he run for president of Afghanistan or something like that?
I heard something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this young man is probably pretty messed up. And the story, I noticed, it depends on who you talk to about what the big story is. Is this an Islamic attack on American soil? Is this a homophobic attack? Is this a story about how easy it is to get a hold of guns? I mean, there's a lot of different angles on this story, and different outlets have kind of focused on one over the others. So what do you think about that?
I think the first is Islamic attack, because even a few days later, there was something involving an Islam guy in Texas where he held hostages in a Walmart or something like that. And it's an Islam problem, I think, because of the way they're going in their direction lately. And a lot of people, like at E3, they kept having the rainbow flags and stuff. I don't believe this was an attack just on gay people. I think it was an attack on America first, and then gay people second.
Right. Well, he did, he could have attacked anybody he wanted to, okay, but he attacked a gay nightclub. I mean, he could have gone to a mall and shot up just whoever was there, but he chose a gay nightclub at 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was a gay attack.
But he was also probably gay himself.
He probably was, yeah. I mean, we don't know. I mean, there've been people who said that they knew him and they that he came around to that club a lot. But I mean, there's so far nobody has said, yeah, we had gay sex. Nobody has said that yet.
That would be awkward to come out with.
Well, if I was a gay dude who had done that, I probably wouldn't say anything. I don't want to admit it.
Can I tell you just a little short story real quick?
Okay, go ahead.
The first time I donated blood in high school, one of the questions they always asked was, have you had sex with another man since 1979? And the first time I got asked that, I just started laughing.
Okay.
I think that, and like I talked to other people and they did too.
Yeah.
It's like, first off, it's like I'm obviously not born before 1979. And second thing is, like, you're assuming that everybody that comes through is gay.
Well, I don't think they're assuming anything. They're just like, okay, it's a question that they need to know the answer to, and it just has to do with, possible infection. Anyhow, I live in Oakland, which is right across the bay from San Francisco, where I work, and we are pretty used to gay people. We don't snicker. We don't, it's like, I mean, come on, it's no big fucking deal. I mean, I've attended the gay pride parade several times. It's I'll admit, I came from Texas. The very first time I did, my mind was blown. Okay. But you get used to it, and it's like I work with gay people who are like openly gay, and I work at a VA hospital, and there are gay veterans. I mean, they're openly gay veterans. It's no big deal, and you know what? If they want to get married, I don't give a shit. I really don't have a problem with it. I don't think it harms anybody. If they want to get married, let them get married.
But here's my question on it: is why is the government even involved with marriage?
I agree with you.
I do too.
I had a video like that. The video was entitled "I'm Against Straight Marriage."
Like, the government shouldn't have been involved with marriage at all. So what led to getting involved with it to begin with?
I am 100% in agreement with you. I think it's strictly it's a religious, cultural thing, like a civil thing. I think the government should grant, like if you want the benefits, the legal benefits of marriage, fine. Like, have some kind of a contract, and I think you shouldn't limit it to one man, one woman. I think you should not even limit it to two individuals. If 3 people want to get married, fine. If 5 people and a lawnmower and a toaster want to get married, I don't give a fuck.
Are you Mormon?
No, I'm not Mormon.
Hang on a second. We got a break. Flex got to piss.
Okay.
Edit.
Ah! Okay, that was just a marker. When I go to edit it, I'll see the spike.
I don't know if I want to say it on video, but I'm basically, or probably am in trouble for publishing my article about Milo.
Okay, so have you put it up online so we can see it yet?
Oh yeah, it's up. But you had to put in the search bar like Milo Yianopolis because they took it off the front page. Okay,
of your publication in your college?
Yeah, our editor-in-chief is actually a gay man. And he didn't have a problem with it. He told me to put every word in it uncensored.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so he published it after I wrote it. And then our teacher, who's over everything, he got upset about it. And my editor-in-chief was able to talk him into keeping it up on the website, but they took it off the front page.
Okay, so...
Sorry about that. I'm trying to pass a kidney stone, so I'm drinking tons of water and soda and stuff.
I'm in the same situation right now.
You have kidney stones?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate some fucking things.
Wow. Flex, did you start that young?
When
you get your first?
I was about 2 years older. 25, 26.
Well, geez, poor bastard. It's caused Flex so much pain over so many years. I've known you for a long time, Flex, and you've always had this kidney thing.
Yeah, my mom almost lost her kidneys a few years ago because of it, and the doctor screwed up the surgery.
Oh,
okay.
That ain't good.
All right. So you were like most millennials. I won't say most, but you're like many millennials. You are 22 years old and you live at home still, right?
Yeah. I want to as long as I can. Well, I'm a mama's boy.
Okay.
and I don't really have any reason to move out.
Okay. Well, I'll just have you know, when I turned 18, I was gone, and I never looked back. I never asked my mom for money. I never asked anybody for money. It's like I was independent and never looked back.
Well, I'll let you know, dude, that I stayed living at home till I was 24, so 25, something like that. And I left slowly because it was better that way for me.
Right. So I just noticed a lot of millennials have taken that route. Well, I guess it's expensive in the world to get your own place. It's like, of course, when I first moved out, I had roommates, and it was annoying as fuck.
Oh yeah, roommates. And then the other part of it is think like back. I'll just pick a year, 75. Okay, think of the difference proportionally in the cost of housing from 75 until now. As far as the cost of living and housing is fucking expensive, man.
Right. Well, my first place, the rent was $200, and it was a lot to me. It was a lot to me. It was a shitty little joint, but we made a lot. Things cost a lot more now, but people make a lot more money now too.
Inflation.
Yeah, yep. Minimum wage was $1.70 back in those days. So, all right. So, you actually attended the. Was it? It was some sort of a celebration there. Milo was present for it.
Yeah, he had a press conference that was supposed to be at UCF Tuesday, but here's the thing: it was supposed to be Tuesday night, and they were having a vigil for the victims and the student union, and I believe they had like 70 cops for it. And Milo's was going to be on the third floor of the student union, and I think he was asking for 8. And they told him they couldn't give him that 8 and that they wouldn't guarantee his safety, so they moved it to Wednesday. And then they just canceled it without telling him anything, and they wouldn't answer his calls back. So he found a church at ground zero of the shooting that would let him do it. So he had it there outside. And I basically got to see him. It was basically about why gays should own guns, why they should basically vote Republican. Because he said the Democrats no longer have gays in their I can't think of what it's called, in their mindset anymore, and basically like that. And I remember my photographer actually got a good picture of it, and it was Milo. The Tea Party flag, what's it called, the Gadsden flag or something like that.
What does it depict?
The Tea Party flag has a snake and it says "Don't tread on me."
Oh, okay.
Well, they had the gay flag with that over it, saying like they're gay conservatives, and he was basically telling gays they need to be conservative. But the thing about that is his speech did have an effect, because this had over 1 million views on all of his platforms combined. And after he did that speech, gun sales for the LGBT community went straight up across the country.
Okay, well, I heard that gun sales went up anyway, because people are worried that the government's going to take away assault rifles because of this. Which of course, they haven't. No,
I was saying they have went up. The sales.
They have went up. Yeah, the sales have gone up. You can go online right now and you can buy a Bushmaster. Just give me your $1,000 online, and boom, you've got it delivered in 2 days.
And Milo also made out with Gavin McInnes too. I
did see that.
Gavin McInnes. I actually put this quote in my article too, which probably made my professor mad. He went, "F you, Islam," and then they kissed. And I actually had that quoted in my article.
Okay. So, I actually don't think that a whole lot of gay people are going to vote Republican, because the Republican Party has not really been friends with the gay community forever. So I don't see gay people flocking to Republicans.
I think they will in this election because Trump isn't like other Republicans. I believe Milo said it himself in that press conference that Donald Trump is the most liberal Republican we've probably ever had run for office.
in some ways you're probably right. I don't think Trump is homophobic particularly. I really don't. I do think he's a guy who doesn't know jack shit about very much. He's like, it's obvious that he hasn't really thought about a lot of things, and he doesn't know a lot of things. And I think as far as like commander in chief, he's in way over his head.
Well, you know how he says a lot of brash things. I love that about him. I love how he just says whatever he thinks, even if I don't agree with everything he said, but I love that he speaks his mind like that.
Well, I know that that's the main draw, like why a lot of people who support him do support him, because he does say kind of things that other people would never say. I mean, other Republicans just wouldn't say those things. I don't think he's a religious guy. I don't think he's necessarily an atheist, but I know that there's no indication that he's even slightly religious.
Oh, his book, in his book Crippled America, he talks about it. He says he's a devout Christian. He says he's Presbyterian. It says he doesn't talk about it much, but he said he's very devout in it.
Right. Well, he was pressed by somebody like to name a Bible verse that he liked, and I think he had to go with, because all he could think of was John 3:16. It's like, oh great, he got that from a football game.
But that's the only one I can quote.
And you call yourself a Christian.
I remember in Sunday school every week they made us learn a new Bible verse, but the only one I can remember is John 3:16.
Okay. So anyway, I don't think he's particularly religious. I really don't. I mean, most religious people, don't think that he's religious. But I don't think he stands a chance of winning. I think he's actually, what's going to happen is there's going to be a bloodbath for the Republican Party down ticket. I think that they're going to lose the Senate, and the House of Representatives is very much in play. I think Trump is going to go down in dramatic. I think he's going to lose big time.
I think every terrorist attack gives him more points. And I said earlier this year, if we had a big terrorist attack, that he would win the election. And then I said we would have one, and then the Orlando shooting happened.
Okay, because of his stances, I do agree with you that every terror attack helps him. Okay? Because I do disagree that Hillary should, like they were criticizing her for not saying Islamic terrorism. Okay, well, she finally said it. Islamic terrorism. There, are you fucking happy? Well, it's like, she doesn't, it's like, okay, she is trying not to offend Muslims, but you can be against the ideals of Islamic, Islamism without being, like, personally against Muslim individuals. And in that regard, she's a regressive. I'll give you that. She's a regressive. I did not vote for Hillary. I voted for Bernie. But I knew my vote wasn't going to do anything, because it had, by the time the California primary happened on June 7th, it had already been called. They called it on June 6th.
Well, I think I think Hillary screwed Bernie over. I'm not a fan of either, but I definitely think she screwed him over in the primary.
He screwed himself over with that fucked up hair, man. What was up with that?
That was pretty funny. Well, I don't know if she screwed him over, but I do think the Democratic Party, the DNC, was most definitely biased, and that's the whole idea of that superdelegates. But I have a funny feeling because Trump won the nomination for the Republicans against the wishes of almost all the rank and file Republicans. I think they might institute a superdelegate system next time around, just to prevent that sort of thing from happening.
Well, I don't even think it's really I know super delegates has something to do with it, but like the day before the California, before they voted, AP released a story going Hillary Clinton reached her delegate count or whatever, and as soon as that went public, there would be less Bernie supporters show up to vote that day. Right,
they called it the day before the election, and well, he didn't have a chance anyway.
Well, I think the polls were about even until they did that.
Well, he lost big time in California, but even if he had won in California, it wouldn't have even mattered. It's proportional, so he would have only won just a few extra delegates, and he's still way behind.
I actually interviewed and did a story on the Bernie Sanders Club at UCF like a week before this, too. It was very interesting. I interviewed 3 of the officials. One said she hated Hillary but would vote for her anyway. The other one said he would definitely vote for Hillary, or maybe he said he would vote for third party, something like that. And the other one said under no circumstances would he ever vote Hillary. So it was kind of split on what they would do.
Right, but see, you're asking these people 5 months before the election. What happens now and what happens in 5 months is going to be a different story. I think a lot of the people who are saying never Trump are going to vote for Trump when the time comes, and a lot of the people who are saying never Hillary are going to vote for Hillary when the time comes.
I think we should call Trump by the name he should be called.
What's that?
Daddy.
I thought you called Milo Daddy.
Granddaddy. If Milo's my daddy, that means Trump is my granddaddy.
Okay, so I know that Milo calls Trump Daddy, right?
Yeah.
But you've been calling Milo Daddy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Happy Father's Day, Milo.
Today is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all you dudes out there who are fathers. Lex?
What? My father's dead.
No, you're a dad.
Oh.
Now, I'm not a dad as far as I know.
Was it the wild 60s or 70s?
Well, it's like... it
was something wild.
I tried inseminating as many people as I could, but to my knowledge, none of them came back to ask for, for money.
It's like the Robin Williams movie. What was it, Old Dogs or something like that? Have you seen that movie?
I don't think I've seen that.
Basically, he finds out he got married, got divorced, then got married again for one day, divorced. But from that one day, he had kids with her, and he didn't know it till years later. It had John Travolta in it too. Well,
I know that a dude can like have a one night stand, and the result could be a kid. It's like that happens. No, it's not. The woman. It's a bigger deal because she's left kind of holding the bag. Now, I believe the woman should have the right to have an abortion anytime she wants for whatever reason. I think that is one area where feminists have a legitimate issue is abortion rights. I think that in the West, I think that is the primary issue that they actually have to worry about. I'm going to guess I already know where you stand on that.
I stand exactly the same as Milo.
And I don't know what that is.
He believes abortion is the exact same thing as murder.
Okay.
He was, remember when, I don't know if you saw it, when he was at DePaul, I think, and he got assaulted, basically.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, like right before then, he was on one of their radio stations, and this girl was like, don't you agree with what feminism did for abortion? And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, where they have the right to have abortion. He's like, that's where me and you disagree, because I believe it's murder. And he told her that.
Okay, so like a 20-week-old fetus that's aborted, you consider that murder, right?
Yeah, because it's like, use a condom.
Okay, so what about a zygote that's just like the size of a pinhead?
Yeah.
The morning after, what do you think? Is that murder?
Yeah.
Are you killing a human being? It's about the size of a pinhead.
I believe it is.
Okay, so what if you jerk off, into the toilet? Is that like, are you killing all those sperms? They're all potential people, right? Every sperm is precious. Every sperm is good.
Boy, that drifted strangely.
I don't know what to say.
Okay. So there you are. You're on that side. That's where traditional Republicans are, though. So in that regard, you're like a traditional Republican.
But unlike traditional Republicans, I'm not afraid to say multiculturalism is cancer.
So what exactly is multiculturalism?
Multiculturalism is a belief that we should just accept all cultures and just bring them over here and live life like that. Like we should just bring Islamists over here, and that's multiculturalism. I believe multiculturalism, once it gets big enough, the original culture will die. I believe that's what happened to the Native Americans when the Europeans came over, is multiculturalism killed them off because it became violent.
True. We did kill off the Indians. This was their land.
Those were my ancestors.
You're a part Indian?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Which tribe?
I believe it's. I definitely think I'm part Cherokee because my great grandmother, she was Indian, and her name was America.
Okay.
I'm also on other sides of the family too, but this is the only one that's documented. The only on my grandfather's side of the family, they didn't keep documents like my grandmother's side did.
Right. So we had the old manifest destiny. It's like we made treaties with them, and we broke the treaties, and we moved them to reservations. We wiped them out. We killed their buffaloes. So yeah, we're bad. But I don't feel guilty myself personally for it.
I don't. I know those were my ancestors, but that's the past. It's time to move on.
Right. Well, I do feel the same way about slavery. It's like slavery was an abomination and it's horrible, but I personally don't feel guilt over it. It's like I didn't have anything to do with it, so I'm not going to feel guilty about it myself. I feel bad for the people who had it done to, but I don't feel responsibility for it.
You know what sharecroppers are?
Yeah.
They worked out there beside the slaves in a lot of places. And if you look back at my family were sharecroppers that worked beside the slaves.
Okay.
So it's like my ancestors, I know my ancestors didn't own any.
Yeah.
Well, so they can't play that card with me.
Well, even if they did, even if your great grandfather did own like 100 slaves, like what the fuck fault is it of yours?
Yes, it's not. It's like. What's the phrase, you were never a slave and I never owned any?
Well, I think there's truth to that. There's truth to that. Now, if you were a black person, you probably would still be pissed off about the whole idea of slavery. It's like your ancestors were brought over as slaves and they were, treated in that way. You'd probably be pissed at it, but the fact is it actually didn't happen to you. But the results of slavery, I think... There is such thing as racial. I don't think America is there on race. I think we still have problems, and I think that minorities are they're not asking for anything that they shouldn't be asking for. But I don't necessarily agree that Black Lives Matter is the best way to go about it. I think their tactics are BS, where they wasn't that a BLM protester that interrupted the DePaul?
Yeah, and legally what they did was assault.
Well, it certainly doesn't help their cause, if you ask me.
That actually made Milo more popular.
Well, I think it did. Also, there was a memorial or something like that. They held it, like the gay community had a bunch of speakers and all this, and some people from BLM jumped up on stage and were trying to sort of take over. It's like they're media hogs, and I don't think it's a legit. It's not a legit civil rights.
They're pseudo media terrorists, man. That's what they are.
Yeah. Well, they haven't hurt anybody or killed anybody yet, but
they do have blood on their hands.
Okay.
I did do a podcast with a guy. He actually runs the website milosexual.com, and he's a big Milo fan. And he said in Chicago that ever since Black Lives Matter has started, they actually cut down on the amount of police there. And he said like the amount of gang deaths and stuff like that has gone up since then.
Well, how is that the fault of BLM?
Well, they're the ones that push for less police because they kept saying that police were killing black people.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't see them as a truly legitimate spokesperson for racial equality. I think they're just media whores. Shaun White looks like pretty white to me.
I think if you want to take like a black man who has actually made something of himself, look at Ben Carson, because he's helped a lot of people throughout his life and saved lives.
Okay, well, Ben Carson was certainly a failed political guy. I mean, his neurosurgery or whatever, I don't know, but he was a religious nut job, if you ask me. He thought the pyramids were built to store grain.
I think when it comes to people like him, I think he's a genius, but he's a genius in his field, and most geniuses are just good at what they do.
Well, I don't know how good he is in his field or not, but he's not qualified to be president.
He was my second pick under Donald Trump before he tanked. He tanked fast, too.
Okay. Well, he said some stuff that he's pretty. He doesn't know very much about a lot of things.
I liked him because he wasn't a politician. Like he wasn't somebody that had been corrupted by like being in politics.
Okay. So you probably sort of had a soft spot in your heart for Carly Fiorina then.
I never really kept up with her. Like, she just came off as awkward. Did you see what happened to her when Ted Cruz picked her to be his running mate?
Right. That was a joke. I mean, that was pathetic. Well, personally, I myself would rather see a Trump presidency than a Ted Cruz presidency.
Ted Cruz is what I would call a conservative.
Oh, okay. Well, he's very hard right, and he's also very theocratic. He's like as religious as it gets.
Like, I agree a lot with what he says, but he would have zero chance against Hillary. There would be no chance for him to beat her because he is not willing to go. He's not willing to get dirty. And if you want to beat Hillary, you have to be willing to get dirty and dig into her past. And Donald Trump, you know he's going to do it.
Well, Hillary, they've been digging in her past for decades. They haven't got anything that ever stuck. You think this email thing is gonna amount to anything? It's like just like whitewater. It won't matter.
It doesn't matter if it does. All it matters is if Trump can use that to pull over voters.
I don't think he's gonna get shit from that. Sorry, I disagree.
Because I think there's a lot of people that were looking at Bernie, and those people are going to go to Trump.
Well, I don't know about that. Bernie has extremely liberal views.
Ask me.
Okay. So are you thinking about Trump?
No.
You're a Bernie supporter?
I was.
Well, I support Bernie.
Right now, with the two choices we have, I feel it's kind of like picking which STD you'd like.
Well, I don't love Hillary. Far from it. I think she's...
Me neither.
I think she is as insincere as any politician that we've ever had.
She's a career politician, and that's all I need to know.
She's a career politician, but she is very, very smart, and she is qualified.
I wouldn't... well, she is smart because... What was it? It was something came out a while ago, a tape of her talking about how she got a rapist, like, from getting in trouble or something like that.
Right.
Have you heard about that one?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like, she had to be smart to be able to do the stuff she's done. But I think by the time of the election in November, it's going to collapse. Like, I think her entire election will collapse. And I think when that happens, they may bring in Joe Biden or somebody like that to go against Trump.
Okay. Well, there is a serious effort to keep Trump from actually being the nominee. They're like talking about delegates being able to be unpledged.
If that happens, I will not vote Republican. I won't vote for Democrat, but if they screw Trump, I will not vote Republican.
Yeah.
I'll vote for Gary Johnson before I'd vote for... and I don't like him, but I'd vote him over Republican if they screw Trump.
Right. Well, I don't think they'll do that because the country made its choice clear. I mean, the Republicans of this nation have have put Trump in this position fair and square. He won the most votes, and if they tried to steal it from him, I think that would be overturning the will of their own voters, and I think that would be catastrophic for them.
But they're also career politicians, and I think they would still attempt it.
Well, there are people who are seriously striving to achieve that goal. So will they succeed? I don't know. We have about a month till the convention, and I think that will be fascinating. I will be watching every night.
The way I think Trump could lose, which there's a good possibility of it, is if the Republicans decide to go all stupid and put a third-party Republican in it and split the vote, which I think Bill Kristol is trying to do.
Oh, he's totally trying to do that.
Yeah. If you do that, it's a guaranteed Hillary win. 100% chance. Right.
Well, if Bernie had decided he wanted to go third party, the same thing would happen to Hillary. But Bernie has said he wants to prevent Trump from getting in. If Hillary really wants to win, she should select Bernie as her running mate. And if not that, then probably Elizabeth Warren.
I think that would hurt her to get Elizabeth Warren because, like, Donald Trump has just taken her name and just, what is it, he calls her Pocahontas?
That is retarded.
I find it funny.
Like, okay, I think you, as a Trump fan, you would find it funny, but I don't think it's funny. I don't think it hurts her in any way at all. You know, calling her Crooked Hillary is like, that's fine. It's like you can sling names and call people things all you want, but Pocahontas, how is that going to hurt Elizabeth Warren?
I think it does, because if you look at it, everybody Donald Trump has beat, he has given them a name that fits them perfectly. You have a low energy Jeb. I mean, Jeb Bush is about as low energy as you can get. Then you have Lying Ted for Ted Cruz.
Right.
And what was it he called Marco Rubio? Little Marco.
Little Marco. Right. Well, you know, it's never happened in this country that a major candidate for president has called people like lying this and crooked that. It's like, that is,
what is this, garbage pail kids? Jesus fucking
I know,
Christ.
This is like fucking like
schoolyard shit.
It's
man.
Like second grade.
Fucking
I find it funny though.
Okay, as a Trump fan, I'm not surprised.
See,
but
the best
change
way to
a
say
dirty diaper and call it happy. That'd be fucking funny.
I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. I guess you could call me a Trumpkin.
Okay. How do you feel about Sarah Palin?
I actually do like her, but I think the media has just destroyed her name, and I think that would be a bad pick for vice president for Trump to choose, just because of the media has destroyed her name because of what her kids have done and stuff.
Well, I think she's destroyed her own name because she's stupid. I think she's like revealed her level of dumbassery. It's like, you know, ask what magazines do you read? It's like, or what newspapers do you read? All of them. Yeah.
I like
National Enquirer, Star, Globe. You know, the good ones.
Yeah, the Globe.
I like how she just says what's ever on her mind too.
Right. So
that's why she doesn't say nothing, man.
Well, she came out and supported Trump. I mean, she is one of the official endorsers of Trump, and she came out pretty early. And he brought her out on stage, and then Saturday night did a parody of it that was pretty hilarious. So you put this you've already written this Milo coverage that you did?
Yeah, it's published. It's on the side. It's not on the front page, because our professor didn't like it. But if you go to nsm.today and look up Milo Yianopolis in the search bar, it'll come up.
Okay. Can you put a link? Could you send me a link on Skype? Would you like us to put a link to it in video?
I guess so.
Well, I mean, if you don't want to put a link in, we don't have to.
Well, I actually do kind of want it to spread out because they didn't like it.
Okay. So if you can send me a link on Skype, then I'll put a link in the video so people can check out your article.
I also covered Westborogh yesterday, but for some reason they haven't published it yet.
Okay, so Westborogh Baptist Church was protesting
the service of one of the victims, and so like a lot of people came out to counter protest.
Okay, so what did you see? What kind of things did you witness?
I mean, I don't like Westborogh Baptist Church. I think they are disgraceful people. And if you look at Christians, I honestly don't think they're really Christians. I think they're just people out there for their own gain. I think they're people who live in infamy and they strive off that. But when you go there to what they're protesting, like it's not out what the media. It's not as big as the media makes it out to be. There was like a few people out there with hundreds of counter protesters. Like, if you didn't know Westboro was going to be there, you wouldn't have known because the other people just drowned them out.
Right. Well, I think they're despicable and disgusting. I
think they're evil.
Well, I do too, and I'm glad to see that they've been marginalized to this point. I think, if anything, a lot of Christians have given up on their faith. More people have given up on Christianity than have gone to it because of them.
Well, I wouldn't say anybody gave up because of them, but they have pushed people away from it, I think, that could have been Christians. Yeah. Because if you look at them, you're going to go, I don't want any part in this.
Right. If this is Christianity, then count me out.
I have a notebook somewhere. I wrote down some of their signs that was like...
well, of course, they always have God Hates Fags. They always have that.
That was one of them. That said God Hates Fags.
Usually they protest at dead soldiers' funerals.
Oh, you know how there's that biker gang that goes around counter-protesting? There was a big one here, too. I got an interview with one of them that I have a quote from in my story whenever they publish it. But they were there counter-protesting, too.
Okay.
And they look like really... When you see biker gangs, you think of really rough people, like people that would beat you up in a street alley or whatever. And they look like that, too. But when you go up and talk to them, they're actually really nice people.
Right. Well, I mean, they're wearing leather jackets and chains and stuff, but underneath it, they are still human beings. And the fact that they're counteracting the Westboro Baptist Church, I mean,
there were actually people that were Christians at counter protesting too. I got a couple interviews from them.
Okay. So you're digging this reporter thing then?
Yeah, it's fun.
Now, if you can't have your your ultimate goal of being like where Milo is, would you just work for a newspaper or for a TV station?
I don't think I would be happy doing that.
Okay.
I just don't think I could, because to be honest, I do like the spotlight. That's why I like starting drama, because it puts the spotlight on me. I like starting stuff with SJWs because it puts their spotlight on me. I love being in attention to people.
Okay. Well, what if you were the on-camera person on a TV news? You'd probably like that, right?
I don't know. I wouldn't be starting controversy. When you put Milo in front of a camera, it's going to make news. I could do the exact same thing. I could probably take it a step further than him.
Well, one thing that people like about Milo is he's erudite. He's got a command of language that's really unparalleled. So, you have to. Yeah, you're competing against that.
He does. Like, when he speaks, I saw somebody relate it to Martin Luther King Jr., the way he spoke, the way he's just able to capture an audience. That's like once in a lifetime, I think.
Well, I don't know the exact prevalence of it, but he does have the ability to speak in ways that are he wins over people, even people who don't necessarily agree with everything he says. I disagree with a lot of the stuff that he says, but I still like him.
He has converted a lot of people from liberals to conservative. Like, not many people can say they've done that.
True. Well, Dave Rubin is a liberal, but he's also an anti-regressive. So
I disagree a lot with what Dave Rubin says, but I respect that he fights for free speech.
Mm-hmm. He's an atheist, right?
Yeah. I know he's a married gay guy too, but right. I still respect that he fights for free speech.
Well, he used to be on the Young Turks. Are you familiar with the Young Turks?
They are total SJWs.
Yes, they are, and they're total regressives. They are the textbook definition of regressives.
I wish I could start like a conservative version of what they are, but fight for free speech.
Isn't InfoWars? Isn't Alex Jones that same kind of thing?
They don't have like the same setup as the Young Turks do. Like everybody knows, or a lot of people free speech people know who Paul Joseph Watson is, but he's not really like a group of people sitting around a table talking.
Yeah. No, I'm surprised that he's not bigger than he is, because he's actually pretty articulate.
Well, he's here recently. He's jumped up in popularity by a lot.
Right. Well, he wasn't on my radar till, I don't know, half a year ago or something when I first became aware of him. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know. We probably lost a lot of our audience. Probably a lot of our audience doesn't know who Young Turks are or any of that. But the Young Turks used to be kind of like different than they are now. They're like strictly Islamic apologists. Is all they're like, fuck white people. That's all they're into nowadays.
Do you know who Mike Cernovich is?
No, I don't.
He's like a friend of Milo in Box Day. Like, he's an author, a lawyer. He fights for free speech, and he's doing like a free speech documentary. He's like a Trump supporter. Like, I think he's around 40, but he's older. But he's like a real big free speech fighter.
Okay.
And I think he's going to be one to watch in the upcoming year or two, because his on Twitter, I've watched him grow really fast. He has over 50,000 followers now.
Okay. Well, okay. So I might check him out. Now, I'm all about free speech, and college campuses nowadays, that's absolutely not what they're about. They're about, shutting down anything that they don't like. And I couldn't be more opposed to that. So we do have some common ground, even though you're conservative and I'm liberal. We do have common ground in that regard.
Well, while I am conservative, I would also call myself a cultural libertarian too, because I do believe in total free speech.
Okay. So, cultural libertarian. So do you think that? So I guess you're in favor of gay rights then.
Well, cultural libertarian, you can be conservative or liberal, and more of a cultural libertarian isn't afraid to sling mud, so to say, to get what they want. Like Milo, he purposely triggers the special snowflakes, and he says stuff that just really gets under their skin, and he's for total free speech. You can be a conservative or a libertarian. I said that wrong. You can be a conservative or a liberal, but if you're for total free speech, you're also a cultural libertarian. Like, you're not specifically a libertarian, but you're for total free speech.
Right. Well, I'm for total free speech. In a lot of countries, if you speak out against the government, you're fucked. If you speak out against Islam, you're fucked. In Bangladesh, there are people going around hacking atheist bloggers to death with machetes. Just insane. Charlie Hebdo, they killed those guys for drawing pictures of Muhammad.
I live in Orlando, which I think here recently is one of the biggest Islam centers in America.
Okay.
So, because especially with what happened to Milo, he said that his team drove around and there were a lot of mosques around the city. I don't drive around that much, but I think there's one down the road, and they have tall walls, and I think that things are about to get pretty bad here.
Well, I don't want to see Muslim Americans being. I don't want to see people picking on them. I don't think that's right. It's like if you go around harassing people that are Muslim just because that they're Muslim, I think that's BS.
I don't think you should harass them or anything, and if they're not bothering anybody, don't bother them. But I think bringing them over here is going to build up a big extremist Islamic cult here, and it's going to be very bad for us.
Okay. Well, I think Europe has got a problem with that, but I don't think that's anything that we are necessarily facing. It's like we're far away. Any Muslims that get over here, they're in, they're like, it takes like 18 months or 2 years or something for that to happen. So I don't think there's a whole lot of ISIS members getting into the United States.
Well, they're already here.
I think they have bases everywhere in this country. I honestly do.
They're already here, man. They have been for years.
Well, the terror attacks that are happening now, under the advice of al-Baghdadi, is like, just do terror attacks where you are. He's like, don't come here. Just do terror attacks where you are. Just kill as many people as you can, and it's like, be sure to give ISIS credit. That's what they want. And that's just what this guy in Orlando did. That's what the San Bernardino people did. So we're going to see homegrown attacks sporadically. It's not like we have to worry about things the way like Israel. It's like, all right, they've been living with these kind of like paranoid situations where they could be attacked. There could be a suicide bomber at a market or at a mall or at a cafe at any time. I mean, they're used to that sort of thing. I don't think it's going to be like that for us. But every time that there is an attack like this, it's going to be a big deal. And you're right. If there is a really big attack close to the election, I think Trump could win. I think Trump could win if that were to happen. If Hillary is smart, she will get her head out of the sand. And it's like Islamism is something to be worried about. And call terror what it is.
I honestly think Trump should go a step further himself. Instead of saying radical Islam, I think it should just be Islam. Because, I mean, I know not all of them over here are, in that mindset, but there is a problem with Islam right now.
Well, do you agree that they should, like, stop all Muslims from being able to visit this country for any reason, like Trump says?
Yes.
What about freedom of religion?
Well, if they are already here, they can have their freedom of religion. But for now, I think...
But if you come here, you're not entitled to that?
I think if you're here, you're entitled to it, but you're not... I think it's a privilege to live here, but you're not exactly have to live here. You can still live where you're at and believe whatever you want to there and believe what you want to. I'm just going around circles now. But we do have freedom of religion here, but that doesn't mean we have to bring them over.
Okay. Well, I think it's pretty unworkable what he's proposing. I don't think that's the American way. We don't have a religious test, in this country. So I think he's wrong on that. But I think that Homeland Security should be very, active and seeking out any plots that are happening, and anybody who wants to come here from a place where there is violence. I think they should look at them, and check, are they on the terrorist no-fly list or anything like that? What do you think about the gun issue? Should somebody who's on the FBI's terror list, should they be able to just buy a gun?
Well, it depends. Like, if it depends on, I'm not sure how the FBI terror list works, but if they can just randomly, if somebody high in the government can go, put them on watch list because I don't like them. I don't think that should work. But if, let's say, you have somebody who's like this guy that shot up the club, I don't think he should have been able to get access to guns.
Okay, so you are for some gun control then?
I'm only for gun control for people that actually have records of possibly being a terrorist. But if you're some innocent person, I don't think there should be any gun control at all.
Okay. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Quick question: what game that was spoken about at E3 are you most interested in?
I gotta say two.
Okay.
Halo Wars 2 and The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
I mean, I've waited 7 years for a new Halo Wars game, and I like the direction where they're going into an open world style with the new Zelda game.
Okay. Well, I got to say, I'm really, really interested in Cuphead. I want to see more about Cuphead.
That too, that one too, and ukulele. the ukulele, because I grew up with the 3D platformers and Cuphead.
Yeah. So that should be fun. So anyway, if you're still watching Bulletproof Underwear, episode number 207. Very good. Now get a life. So we would like to thank our guest, Frozensword, and we will put a link to your YouTube channel, your Twitter, and if you give me the information, I'll put a link to your article. Okay?
I'll send it to you in a minute.
Okay, after the call. All right. So I've been your co-host Yam Juice,
and I've been your co-host Flex.
And it looks like it's about that time. Now, sorry that you can't participate in this, Frozensword.
Well, I don't know what to say, but I got two thumbs up.
You can shout into the microphone when we do it.
I had to burp it. I burped at the same time.
Okay, well, that'll have to pass. Okay, that'll have to do.
Yeah.
All right. So it looks like there's just one last thing to do. Take us out, Mr. Flex.
All right. Bye, everybody.